Hey, loves, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. I am your host, Dee Shields. I appreciate everyone who comes by the podcast. If you are new to the channel, you can go over to the main screen on the channel and you can listen back to several of the podcasts. It can take you back probably almost 10 years. You can go back to listen to several different formats of many different relationship topics, entertainment topics, and lyrics breakdown because that is what I do, as well as talking current events, etc. on my channel. You'll get some funny reels in there and a little personal life here and there. So thank you so much for everyone that does decide to come back and take a look at the channel. Now, today I'm going to be doing some reactions to some things happening across the news. We had so much more that I was going to do prior, but some breaking news happened. We're going to go ahead and get right to this breaking news for those of you who definitely came to the channel just to hear me talk about the breaking news. And if you want to stay for what I do next, feel free to do so because that's a lot of fun also. But this right here, we're going to talk this breaking news. This was unexpected. In a sense, we kind of knew at some point that we would hear this celebrity, this music mogul's name come up after the arrest of Diddy. We definitely knew that this would happen. And even more so, I felt after Diddy was denied bail 3 or 4 times, I felt for sure we're going to start hearing this name. And whether or not these things are true or not, that's neither here or there, right? And that's really not for any one person to say. So, because we have a process in this world of legal that people are definitely innocent until proven otherwise. And we have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that an individual did or did not do something that is being declared in a court of law, right? So what I brought up first was Buzbee because I wanted you guys to see that Tony Buzbee has replied to the Jay Z. So he has replied to Jay Z, and let's just say this. Well, I'll say that in a minute. If you know me, you know. But if you don't know me, then you'll hear about that in just a few. Okay. So let's just go ahead and read Tony Busby's reply, and then I will tell you. I will show you what he's replying to, where this is coming from. So regarding the Jay Z case, is what Tony Busby put on X. He says, regarding the Jay Z case and his efforts to silence my client, Mr. Carter previously denied being the one who sued me and my firm. He filed his frivolous case under a pseudonym. So he basically, for those who don't understand, Tony Busby is saying that Mr. Carter, Jay Z, he's saying that Sean Carter filed a case under a pseudonym, under a name, which is Sean Carter will not be the first of men and women of wealth who choose to file cases that may be of private nature under pseudonyms, and they are allowed to do so. You can get a pseudonym legally. So they're allowed to do this just to keep their business a little private, especially when they're extremely high profile, because a lot of what they're doing in the world of business may impact, other maybe sports stadiums, or it may impact sports organizations, or it may impact financial organizations. It may impact liquor organizations, or whatever, cash and finance apps, whatever it is that a person is associated with. So doing it under a pseudonym gives you a chance to say, hey, I know what's coming at me. I know that I need to take this to court. Is probably what the legal team and Sean Carter, Jay-Z are saying. I know I need to take this to court, but hey, it's a frivolous case, meaning, this is nothing. There's nothing to it. So I'm going to do this under a pseudonym, and hopefully I can do this discreetly and this will not come out. But that's how this world works, and how these things leak, and somehow people have no idea how that happens. So Busby goes on to say that what he fails to say in his recent statement is my firm sent his lawyer a demand letter on behalf of an alleged victim, and that victim never demanded a penny from him. Instead, Busby says to client she only sought a confidential mediation. Since I sent the letter on her behalf, it was a demand letter that was sent over to Sean J.C. Carter, says Mr. Carter has not only sued me, but he has tried to bully and harass me and this plaintiff. His conduct has had the opposite. Let me move this down a little bit. So he said, his conduct has had the opposite impact. She is now emboldened, and I'm very proud of her resolve. Busby goes on to say, as far as the allegations in the complaint filed, we will let the filing speak for itself and will litigate the facts in court, not in the media. Okay. I mean, what is it? What can we? There's not much we could really say about that. Because we can see now that two very powerful people are about to go back and forth, and this is probably going to happen time and time. This is going to happen over and over again. I'm looking at seeing, his legal organization that has told us, since a little after the arrest of Sean P. Diddy Combs, they have said we have 3,000 complaints. We have this 800 line, and people are calling in. We have close to 3,000 people, and we are taking each one of these victims seriously. We have a victim hotline, and they're sending us things in and saying that this is what happened to them. We filed over 100 something cases. We are going to file each one of these civil cases separately. And, demand letters will be sent out. And then further in that press conference, Tony Busby was asked, well, are these big names? And Tony Busby didn't just say that it is musicians. He said there are famous people, there are celebrities, and he said big banks and big hotels and big finance. So he said there's a lot of big names going on. So we shall see how much more comes out. But there was something filed in October, and it had, at that point, it just only had Sean P. Diddy Combs as the person that this Jane Doe says that she went to the MTV Awards. And for those of you who may be new to, and like, what's happening? What's going on? A Jane Doe filed a civil case with her attorney, Tony Busby, and she went to the MTV Awards. She says a friend dropped her off at the MTV Awards. This is just kind of like a breakdown, paraphrase of what's going on with that particular case that was filed. And walked around, didn't have a ticket to get into the MTV Awards, wanted to walk around and kind of just mingle and see who, big that person to me, because they wanted to hang with Jane Doe, wanted to hang with some big names for whatever purpose that was. So it runs into a limo driver. The limo driver declares that, according to Jane Doe, that he was the limo driver for Sean P. Diddy Combs. Says something along the lines of Sean P. Diddy Combs would like you, Puffy would like your type, or you, or whatever. So yeah, definitely stick around. I'm gonna get you into the award after parties, and I'm gonna take you to another party after that. So along the way, Jane Doe continues into this group or party or entourage and ends up at a house. Jane Doe claims that she's at a house that has a U-shaped driveway, and says that she was told to sign an NDA. Jane Doe then says that some things happened to her, and then the allegations of what happened to her ended up being her naming Sean P. Diddy Combs in her allegations, and said that celebrity A and B were in the room at the time that this essay happened. And then also refiled it Sunday, now adding not just celebrity A is being said. This thing was refiled, and now it is said that the person's celebrity A's name is Sean Carter, Jay Z, in the allegations, and saying that, Sean Carter also, was the person that essayed her, and that they took turns going back and forth, and that celebrity B watched, and that celebrity B is a female. And we have Sean Carter, Jay Z, as we all know him. This is where he responds. Yes, for those of you who are new to my channel, I am a huge Beyonce fan. So, yes, this is the very same Sean Carter that is the husband of our Beyonce. And this is something that happened in the year of 2000. So, for those of you who may be unfamiliar, let me make sure that I break down this timeline, because I see some newbies having a discussion, and I want to make sure that you understand this when it comes to just in context on the Carters, okay? Beyonce and Jay Z started dating around 2001. The accusations that Sean Carter, Jay Z, is addressing in regards to the demand letter that was sent from Tony Buzbee, these accusations are coming from the night of the MTV Awards in 2000. So, and just so you know, Beyonce and Jay Z started dating around 2001, towards the latter end of 2001. They appeared on the Vanity Fair music issue cover in that same year. Okay. And Beyonce did her first solo album, Dangerously in Love. That was June 20th, 2003. April 4th, 2003, they got 2000, April 4th, 2000, correction. April 4th, 2008, they got married and then moved on to being the Carters with the beautiful family that they have now. So some people, just to take that for those individuals who did need to make sure that they have those facts straight. Okay. So in regards to the letter that we just discussed, this is what Tony Buzbee is responding to. Okay. So Rock Nation and Jay-Z released on their social media released a letter, and this is a letter that's being represented as a reply from Jay Z to Tony Busby in regards to the refiled accusations and allegations that were refiled in court yesterday on December 8th. And so this is Jay Z's response in regard to that. So Jay Z says, my lawyer received a blackmail attempt, and I'm going to go back on and give some thoughts on this, but first let's just go through the letter. It says, my lawyer received a blackmail attempt called a demand letter from a quotation mark lawyer named Tony Busby. What he had calculated was the nature of these allegations and the public scrutiny would make me want to settle. No, sir, says Jay Z. It had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So, no, I will not give you one red penny. Jay Z saying, no blood penny, but we'll go over that later. These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor would be locked away. Would you not agree? He says in the letter. Jay Z then also says these alleged victims would deserve real justice if that were the case. This is a statement. I shouldn't say a letter, a statement. This lawyer, Buzbee, who I have done a bit of research on, Jay Z goes on to say, seems to have a platform of these type of theatrics. I'll give you my thoughts on that in a minute. He says, I have no idea how you have come to be such a deplorable human, Mr. Busby, but I promise you I have seen your kind many times over. I'm more prepared to deal with your type. You claim to be a Marine. Marines are known for their valor. You have neither honor nor dignity. Jay Z continues on to say, my only heartbreak is for my family. My wife and I will have to sit our children down, one of whom is at the age where her friends will surely see the press and ask questions about the nature of these claims and explain the cruelty and greed of people. I mourn yet another loss of innocence. Children should not have to endure such at their young age. It is unfair to have to try to understand inexplicable degrees of malice meant to destroy families. I heard black families in there somewhere, but no. It says meant to destroy families and human spirit. My heart and support goes out to true victims in the world who have to watch how their life story is dressed in costume for profitability by this ambulance chaser in a cheap suit. You have made a terrible error in judgment, he says, continues to say to Mr. Busby, that all celebrities are the same. I'm not from your world. I'm a young man who made it out of the projects of Brooklyn. We don't play these types of games. We have very strict codes and honor. We protect children. You seem to exploit people for personal gain. Talking to Busby, he says, and Jay Z continues on to say, only your network of conspiracy theorists, fake psychics, I think he's trying to say, will believe the idiotic claims that you have levied against me, that if not for the seriousness surrounding harm to kids, would be laughable. I look forward to showing you just how different I am. Somewhere, the mic dropped somewhere down there. I can't find it, but I promise you that the mic dropped. Look, let's go section for section. Okay? I believe in reform. And I believe that JC had a life before and he has this life now. I do not believe that he continued to be destructive in an era that was very hip hop tend to have a history of things that happened during the hip hop era that was destructive. I believe that I saw many people from that era grow. I don't feel, as I've said to you before on the channel, I don't feel that Sean P. Diddy Combs grew until more recent years, once the allegations and the courts and the claims and all kind of things started impacting the money, then he started becoming a little bit more serious about life. But I would say that Jay-Z once married, especially to the queen herself, Beyonce. I would say that we have seen him grow and become a different person. So I feel like we live in a system where people grow and people change, right? So what happened to him and what type of lifestyle he was living at the time that he was maybe possibly extremely best buds with Sean P. Diddy Combs and maybe living recklessly, there may be a lot of things that, as people party days goes, anybody that has had days where you're partying, you probably have a lot of things that you have to answer to from your past, unlike any other. And when you grow from that and you reform from that and you become a good person living a good moral life, moralistically doing things that are right for your community, for your family, for your country, then you definitely should be given the grace that many others are given. So if this becomes what he mentions later in a criminal complaint, I would expect that the courts, if they do have to bring him in and fingerprint and do the whole nine, I would expect that they would let him out on bond, because his who he's been since is definitely testament of the kind of person that he could be trusted to do what's right until it's time for court. But let's just break down the letter. So he says, my lawyer received a blackmail attempt, and he says that he called it a demand letter. So he's saying that this demand letter that Tony Buzbee is telling everybody that he's sending out to give these celebrities a chance to, he says, to have a conversation. But it seems to me like Mr. Busby is wanting each celebrity to settle with some kind of cash, because I'm sure in the extreme nature of these allegations, and you took them into a kind of low demand level by taking it through a civil court instead of taking it to a high profile criminal court. Seems to me that a big settlement of cash, like what we saw happen in the Cassie allegations and quick settlement shortly after with Diddy last year. So it seems to me that that's what But he called Jay-Z calls this a blackmail attempt. Tony Busby calls him a demand letter. He said, no, sir, I'm not going to settle. It had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you, the fraud that you are, in a very public fashion. So he says, I happen to know some things on you, and I happen to have done my research. You're a fraud. I'm going to tell the world. That's Jay-Z, what he says to Busby. So these guys are going back and forth. And, this is real beef. And, does Tony Busby really want to be a part of beef? There's this thing that was said in Tulsa King. Are you guys watching Tulsa King? And do you remember when when the Chinese criminal in season 2, when he says to the high profile, Tulsa, Oklahoma, rich guy, like, dude, you don't want to get in this underworld, because this underworld could get real nasty. So, some people may not just say, take it, slap it and take it and pay you. They may say, I'm going to fight for my right to and protect my name, because my name is my brand, kind of thing, right? So he said, I'm not giving you one red penny. And the fact that he said one red penny, it's just almost like this is so lyrically just on time. So I'm always impressed by Jay-Z's lyrical capabilities, and everything has a message behind a message behind a message. If you are a fan of the music of Jay-Z, and I guarantee you he didn't write this down, he freestyled that on the mic as the paralegal typed it up, right? So he says, I will not give you one red penny. No blood money coming. Mhm. That's what he told you, Mr. Busby. He said, there's no blood money coming. You're going to do this the right way, the hard way, and you're going to get to know who I am, kind of thing. And then he says, these allegations are heinous in nature. I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. And I would definitely say, from what the allegations that are in that particular thing that was filed and refiled again yesterday on Sunday, I feel that that's not a civil case. Just from my little legalese time in studying and graduating as a paralegal, I would kind of want to say my opinion would be, I am not a lawyer. I am just someone that studied as a paralegal and graduated. But I would definitely say, why not a criminal thing? Why are we not taking this to a criminal court? Why did we stop at civil court? Criminal court is going to be a lot for someone this high profile. It's like trying to take Donald Trump to court and attempting to get a guilty status. Sometimes, in a criminal court, people from high levels, billionaires, because Jay-Z's a billionaire. I see somebody trying to take down a billionaire, so I'm pretty sure that he could get his, you watch Suits? He could get his Harvey Specter, okay? Do you guys watch Suits? I love Suits. So he says whoever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. We all agree, right? And he says these alleged victims should, and they do, deserve real justice in civil court. Will civil court give someone real justice? It's like when you go back and forth and the cops come and then they say, hey, we're just here when a crime has been committed and this is a civil matter. And then they push it over because this is a little minor for 911. And then they push you over to civil court. That's what he's saying. Like this is civil court is low, and what you're saying is really high up here. People need clink clink. So why would you take it to civil court if this is something that you're just not ambulance chasing? Is what he said, right? So then he goes on to say, he says he did research on Buzbee. He says, I have no idea how you come to be such a deplorable human. And then he goes on to question his career in the Marines. And I would say that was a little, Tyson biting the ear off. That was a little hitting below the belt kind of burials kind of hit. That was a little low. That was a little low. We definitely want to leave the military background out of this. That was low. So I'm gonna have to stand here being Team Army, and I'm gonna have to say let's not do that. Let's just push that to the side. But I believe what Jay Z is trying to say. That Marines are known for their valor, and they would, he feels that you don't have honor or dignity, Mr. Busby, and that's probably why he brought up your Marine career. And then he says he's heartbroken for his family. He's heartbroken for his wife, Mrs. Beyonce knows Carter. And we're heartbroken for her also. We're heartbroken for so many reasons because before this, there was Lemonade that came out. There was the allegations of cheating. There was the rumor or the confirmation that he cheated 35 times. And they had this elevator incident. They had so much going on, and the marriage has been tested. And so then we hear, I'm heartbroken because he's probably really heartbroken for real because we all know how women are, right? Women have their number. There are women that say, you do it to me one time and I'm out. You disrespect me in any form or fashion, one time I'm out. And then there are women that say, okay, a couple times and you've done it and you run it and through, it's been a dozen. Okay, you got one more. And then there's, if this is true that it's been 35 times, then there's Beyonce, there's 35. I did a whole album. I made some money and we went on tour and I had a whole, feedback from your mess. And Lemonade made me some money and your mess made me some money, but you do 36 and I'm out. So how heartbroken is he just over what this allegation is? Or have you destroyed this man's marriage? Because a man that upset if you've taken what he worked so hard to maintain and keep and not lose, he gonna use all his resources, Busby. I'm just saying he gonna use all his resources. So he says, my wife and I are gonna have to sit our children down. And I can only imagine what he's saying about Blue. She's of age where people are gonna be questioned. She's got to go to school. And he says, I mourn yet another loss of innocence. I I'm struggling with that sentence. I'm struggling where he could be going with that and how damning that could be in court. I would kind of wish that the legal team had went over and over and over that and probably left that sentence out. That's my opinion. I think I mourn yet another loss of innocence is almost confirming to me in this particular situation that could confirm something that you're trying to stay very far away from. So, I think I would have left that sentence out if I was on the team. But hey, you guys failed to hire me. So anyway, so he says children should not have to endure such, at their young age at all. And then he says, my heart and support goes out to true victims in the world. And I would definitely, I would just have said, if I was going to be on the legal team and I was saying, what should we put out there and be real, real careful? I would say just for the brand's sake and all the things that you are associated with and the cancellations that can often come where sometimes the companies their hands are tied, I would say that's a victim blaming kind of sentence and you would definitely leave out the word true. So I would have just said if I was on the team, no, we're not saying it like that. I know you're upset, Mr. Carter, but this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna say my heart and support goes out to the victims in the world. That way you don't victim blame or victim shame because something happened to this young lady and she believes that the individuals in the room, this happened to her. And so until proven differently in a court of law, like you said, in a criminal court, so I'm just saying, if you had me on your team, There's another way that I would have done that. Okay, but that's, this is out there now, so we're gonna have to roll with it, and read it out because this is the official statement that was on Rock Nation Instagram, and it's coming. They say from Jay Z, who have to watch how their life story is dressed in costume for profitability. And we've seen things like that happen. R. Kelly. We've seen many people take on a moment, and some people were telling the truth and some people were just jumping on the bandwagon for $1. And you have to treat them all the same, because once it gets out there, you cannot victim shame, and not in that legal system. So it just becomes a real mess. He said, you've made a terrible error in judgment thinking that all celebrities are the same. He said, I'm not from your world. And I would agree, though, he's from Marcy Project. Buzbee couldn't last it a day and old, not the one where they're all Instagramming and taking the photos and having a good time smiling. Marcy, gentrified photos days today. We're talking about the where in the Oprah interview, Jay Z says to Oprah, talks about being in the projects and being growing up Marcy, and how there would be gangs shooting at each other and the bullets would come across the playground, and he would have to run inside and everybody would run inside, the kids would hide, and then as soon as the shooting stopped, they would go back outside and play. And they did that often, almost on a daily. I guarantee Tony Busby didn't come from that. So I'm gonna have to stand with him on that statement. You didn't come from my world. He said, I'm a young man who made it out of the project of Brooklyn. We don't play these types of games. We have very strict code and honor. We protect children. You seem to exploit people for personal gain. And of course, the Busby team is going to try to come with some, y'all protect children. Back then, you came from the type of lifestyle that would let children get shot at. And, we can see how that court, definitely take it to criminal court, because just like people were tuned in for Johnny Depp and his wife and all their crimes, people are going to tune in for this. Only your network of conspiracy theorists says would believe the idiotic claims that you have levied against me, if not for the seriousness surrounding harm to kids, would be laughable if it was not that serious. And it's serious, so it's nothing laughable about it. We tend to lighten the mood a little bit, but this is very serious. This is devastating for the Carter family, for sure. Now we're seeing why that rumor came that one of, I think it was, is it Cash App? I don't want to give up an organization name, but one of the big organizations that Jay Z sits on the board of, actually, it was a rumor outside of that board meeting where they said they were told in the board meeting, do not mention Sean Carter's name, like at work or at play. They were told that. It's like almost like in a, so maybe they knew, how legal teams know. So then maybe they knew some things were brewing in the background. So this is that one Jane Doe that, oh, he goes on to say, I look forward to showing you how different I am. I agree. I think that people are going to learn some differences between Diddy versus Jay-Z. Listen, this is the Jane Doe that we had, the celebrity A and celebrity B, and then the attorney said, I know for sure that the persons, you guys are going to recognize celebrity A and B that were in the room with Diddy when the essay happened, and that celebrity A participated in the essay, and you guys are going to know that celebrity B. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm just going to go ahead and put that guess out there because I'm not going to hold back or wait. What most people are assuming, because there was a person dating Diddy at the time that had a altercation or argument with the same night while dating Diddy, and maybe made it back over to his party, or you're dating at that time, so you probably just went home if the party was at home, and that you're dating at that time and went home. So celebrity B, I'm almost I feel celebrity B is definitely, I feel that celebrity B is more than likely, allegedly, possibly J Lo. That's, remember when I told you guys before, I bet you Shine's talking about Brandy? And it was Brandy. Okay, this is my time when I'm saying, y'all, celebrity B's name is coming out sooner or later, probably before the end of the year. And it's probably going to be J Lo. Because when you do the timeline, you go do your research and do the timeline, who else could it be? But I don't know. It's a bunch of people at the party, so it could be anybody. Maybe she didn't even go in the room with her man at the time, so we don't know. But what if? Let's say that. What if? Because it just seemed like so many unexpected moments are happening with this. I did hear that because how high profile this is and the level that is on, that Jane Doe is probably going to have to reveal her identity. So everyone's going to have to jump